3 most disturbing Halloween trick or treat horror stories. Halloween was supposed to be fun. The laughter, the costumes, the sugar rush, it was all supposed to be harmless. But that year, something about the air felt wrong. Colder. Heavier. Like the night itself didn't want to be celebrated. I was 16, and my friends had dared me to explore a street that didn't appear on any map, a dead end tucked behind old oaks and rusted mailboxes. We called it the Lost Block. Every year, people joked that it didn't belong to the town at all, that sometimes the street appeared, and other times it didn't. We thought it was just an urban legend. But as we crept past the final row of glowing jack-o'-lanterns, I began to feel something I couldn't explain, a cold pulse beneath the pavement, like the street was breathing. The houses looked normal at first glance, decorated with fake cobwebs and orange lights. But one stood out, older, leaning slightly to the left, its windows blacked out, the siding faded to the color of bone. A crooked sign on the porch read in jagged handwriting, "Do not knock." Of course, that meant someone had to. "Go on, Tyler," my friend Marco said, shoving me forward with a laugh. "One knock and we'll give you our candy stash." The dare was stupid, but Halloween was made for stupid dares. The sidewalk to the house was narrow, cracked, and covered in brittle leaves that snapped under my shoes. Every step echoed, too loud, too sharp, as if the night wanted to announce me. When I reached the porch, the air shifted. The smell of dust and wet wood hung heavy. The boards creaked under my weight, and I noticed something odd, symbols scratched into the doorframe. Circles, crosses, lines that looked like eyes. My hand trembled slightly as I raised it to knock. Just one tap, I thought. Just one, and I'll be done. The moment my knuckles touched the wood, the sound rang out like a gunshot. The house seemed to absorb it, swallowing the noise whole. Then, silence. I turned to leave. But before I could step off the porch, a faint whisper slithered through the door, too quiet to understand, too close to ignore. "Hello?" I said, my voice shaking more than I wanted. "Nothing." Then another whisper. This time clearer. "Come in." My breath caught in my throat. I froze, every instinct telling me to run. But curiosity, that dangerous, stupid human instinct, kept me still. The door creaked open by itself, just an inch, revealing nothing but blackness inside. The smell of metal and earth drifted out, like rust and old rain. "Tyler!" Marco called from the sidewalk. "Dude, don't." His voice stopped. Cut off mid-sentence. I turned back. The street was gone. Where the row of houses had been, there was only fog, thick, gray, endless. My heart hammered in my chest as I stumbled backward. "Marco!" I shouted, but my voice seemed to vanish before it hit the air. The whisper came again, louder now. "Come in." I don't know what took over me. Maybe fear, maybe confusion, but I pushed the door open. The hinges groaned like something dying. Inside was a hallway lit by a single orange bulb. Wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips, and the floorboards were warped and wet. A child's shoe sat in the middle of the hallway, covered in dust. I took a step forward, my shoes leaving prints in the thin layer of grime. That's when I saw the pictures. Framed photographs lined the wall, children in costumes, smiling, holding candy buckets. But their eyes were wrong. Hollow. Completely black. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop. One of the kids in the photo was me. Same costume, same pumpkin bucket. But the picture was old, the edges yellowed. A voice spoke softly from the end of the hall. "You came back." The light flickered once. Twice. Then went out. The next sound was footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. I backed up, fumbling for the door, but the air behind me felt thick, unmoving, like invisible hands were holding it shut. The footsteps stopped right in front of me. I couldn't see, but I could feel it, the presence. The weight of something tall and human-shaped standing inches away. A faint orange glow flickered back on. In front of me stood a figure, wearing a mask. My mask. From last year's Halloween. It tilted its head slightly, the way a curious animal would, and whispered, You shouldn't have knocked. I ran. Or maybe I thought I did. The hallway stretched endlessly, doors appearing on either side, opening into empty rooms filled with candy buckets and old, tattered costumes. No matter how far I ran, I ended up back at the same photo wall, staring at the same picture of myself, but now, the me in the frame was smiling wider. I screamed, pounding the wall, and the glass shattered. When I turned around, the door was gone. Only the whisper remained, soft, like a breath against my ear. Don't knock again. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in the middle of the street again. The fog was gone. My friends were there, laughing, oblivious. Dude, Marco said. You froze for like 10 seconds. You didn't even knock. I looked at my hand. It was covered in dust, and a single splinter of old wood was embedded in my palm. The next morning, I drove by that street. It wasn't there. Halloween night wasn't over yet. After what happened at that strange, vanishing house, I told myself I was done with tricks, done with dares. But curiosity doesn't die that easily. It lingers, whispering that maybe you imagined it all. That's how I ended up at my friend Caleb's house later that night, trying to laugh it off. His living room was warm, filled with leftover candy and cheap horror movies playing on the TV. The lights flickered occasionally, power issues, he said. But every time the screen went black for a split second, I could have sworn I saw something reflected behind us. Bro, you okay? Caleb asked, tossing me a soda. You've been staring at the window for like 5 minutes. I forced a smile. Yeah. Just tired. But I wasn't tired. I was listening. Because under the sound of the movie, under the laughter from the TV, I could hear it. A faint tapping sound. Rhythmic. Deliberate. It was coming from upstairs. Your mom home? I asked. Nah, she's working late. It's just us. The tapping continued faster this time. Caleb paused the movie, frowning. That's probably the pipes again. This old house makes noise when it's cold. But deep down, I knew better. I'd heard that rhythm before, at the door of the house that shouldn't exist. 3 short knocks. A pause. Then 2 more. I stood up slowly, heart thudding. I need to check something. Dude, seriously? Caleb laughed nervously. It's Halloween. Don't go full ghost hunter on me. I didn't answer. The sound came again, tap tap tap, pause, tap tap. It was coming from his upstairs bathroom. The hall light flickered as I climbed the stairs, each step creaking under my weight. My reflection followed me in the framed photos along the wall, except in one. For a moment, the glass showed my face smiling, even though I wasn't. My breath caught. I blinked. The smile was gone. When I reached the bathroom, the door was half open, the light inside dim and yellow. The tapping had stopped. Everything was still. Tyler? Caleb's voice echoed faintly from downstairs. You good? I pushed the door open slowly. The mirror above the sink was fogged, even though the air felt cold and dry. My reflection appeared faintly behind the mist, blurred, almost detached from me. I wiped the surface with my sleeve. And froze. My reflection didn't move. Every muscle in my body tensed. I blinked once, the figure blinked half a second late. Not quite right. Its eyes were darker, hollower. It looked like me, but older, wrong. I stepped back slowly, my hand trembling. This isn't real, I whispered. The reflection tilted its head, the exact same way the masked figure had in that house. Tyler! Caleb called again, his voice closer now. I turned toward the door. When I looked back, the mirror was completely clear and empty. My reflection was gone. The lights flickered, and I heard the tapping again. This time, it came from inside the mirror. My breathing quickened. I stumbled backward, knocking over a bottle of mouthwash. It rolled across the tile, the sound echoing in the silence. Then a small voice whispered from the glass. You shouldn't have looked. I ran out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. Caleb was at the top of the stairs, wide-eyed. What happened? I grabbed his arm, shaking. Something's in the mirror. He laughed nervously, thinking it was another prank, and went to open the bathroom door. Man, you really... He stopped mid-sentence. The mirror was cracked, a single jagged line running across the middle. What did you do? He whispered. Nothing, I said, backing away. It was already like that. But it hadn't been. Before either of us could say another word, the bathroom light exploded, showering glass onto the floor. The mirror shimmered, and for just a moment, I saw my reflection again. Only it wasn't alone. Something stood behind it, pale, childlike, with eyes too wide, staring through the glass. Its hand pressed against the inside of the mirror, leaving behind a fogged print. Caleb cursed and stumbled back. What the hell is that? The handprint began to spread, like frost creeping across the surface. The mirror pulsed once, twice, then went still. We bolted downstairs, hearts pounding, tripping over candy wrappers and soda cans. When we reached the front door, Caleb yanked it open, gasping for air. The night outside was quiet. Too quiet. The street that had been alive with kids minutes ago was empty now, not a single porch light still on. And across the road, half hidden by fog, stood a small figure. Watching. It wasn't moving. Just staring. Do you see that? Caleb whispered. I nodded slowly, every instinct screaming to run. The figure tilted its head. Then, in the reflection of Caleb's window beside us, I saw it standing right behind us, closer this time, its hand pressed to the glass. When I turned around, nothing was there. Only the faint tapping on the window remained. Tap, tap, tap. Then silence. Halloween had come and gone. The candy was gone, the costumes packed away, and the world returned to its quiet routine. But for me, the night hadn't ended. Not really. A week had passed since the mirror incident at Caleb's house, and I still hadn't slept properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it, the pale reflection standing behind me, its hand pressed against the glass, whispering words I couldn't understand. I kept telling myself it was a trick of the light. Exhaustion. Maybe my brain playing games after everything that happened on that street. But when things start happening in your own house, denial stops working. It started small. The sound of someone walking in the hallway when I was home alone. A faint knock at the door at exactly 3:03 a.m., always 3 short knocks, a pause, then 2 more. And every mirror in my house began fogging up, even when it wasn't humid. That night, I decided to record it. Maybe if I caught proof, I'd stop feeling like I was losing my mind. I set up my phone on the dresser, camera facing the hallway. The clock on my wall glowed faintly red, 2:59 a.m. I waited. At 3:03, right on cue, the knocking began. Tap. Tap. Tap, pause. Tap. Tap. I froze. The sound wasn't coming from the front door this time. It was coming from the mirror across the room. The air turned cold. My breath fogged as I stood, inching closer to the glass. There it was again, the faint outline of a handprint, pressing from the inside. Then another. And another. Smaller ones this time, like a child's. Who's there? I whispered. No answer. The handprints vanished. Then, from the reflection, something moved behind me. I spun around, nothing. But in the glass, the hallway stretched longer than it should have, bending impossibly into darkness. And standing at the far end of it was a figure. It looked like me. Same hoodie. Same hair. Same everything, except the smile. The thing in the mirror grinned wide, like it had been waiting for me to look. My phone vibrated on the dresser, and the sudden noise broke my trance. When I glanced back, the reflection was empty. I grabbed the phone with trembling hands and replayed the recording. The video showed me sitting there, and then, for a few seconds, something else stepped into frame, a second silhouette, standing behind me. That was enough. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to Caleb's house. When I got there, the neighborhood was dark. Every house looked asleep except his. His porch light flickered weakly, the bulb humming like it was struggling to stay alive. I rang the bell once. No answer. I tried again. Tap. 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 Pause. Tap. Tap. The sound echoed back through the house, mocking me. Caleb? I called. It's me, Tyler. Open up. Silence. Then, a faint creak from upstairs. I stepped inside. The living room was dark, but I could smell something metallic, faint, like rust or old blood. The TV flickered static, and the same horror movie we'd watched a week ago was still looping on the screen.